What's up? Welcome back to episode 9 of the Splatt Show. I'm never going to get the episode
Woo!
number wrong again. You might have noticed it's been a while, but we are back. It is summer. We're in tank tops.
Back.
We're
We've got
ready.
tank tops on.
We're,
Actually, I can't see you. Where's your tank top?
you can't see me, dude, because OBS has to see me.
Oh,
The
okay.
people
All
need
right.
to see me,
Well, I
Sam.
trust that Hayden has a tank top on. I definitely have a tank top on.
In the spirit of summer, we're here. We're inside. And not only are we inside, we're going to talk about Inside, a game brought to you by Playdead. Came out, let's see, almost a year ago. We're in 4 days. It's a year anniversary. So I guess kind of fitting. Um,
Yeah.
June 29th is that date. It is currently $12 on Steam instead of 20. So you can pick it up for a hot deal if you're listening to this podcast as it drops. And yeah, so
Woo!
Sam, why don't you tell them a little bit about what Inside is? What's
All
the
right.
juice?
Inside is a hyper ambient puzzle platformer from the creators of Limbo. Um, that's it. That's
Yep.
what it is.
Curtains. Yeah, no, so it's if you've played Limbo, you're gonna notice some reoccurring kind of themes and ideas. One thing that I kind of think is neat about Playdead as a studio and stuff is I think they know they hit it out of the park with Limbo, and like they could have just kind of been like, hey, let's make Limbo 2 and just kind of call it a day. And I think they saw that there was more to explore with kind of the Limbo approach of kind of like using no dialogue, having like very more like bleak art styles and things like that. um, but they
Right.
said let's not just make a sequel and not innovate on like the graphics or like the setting and stuff. Like let's create Inside instead. And Inside is like this like 2.5D but in like more of a sense than most games. um,
So I actually didn't play Limbo,
right.
but yeah.
So yeah, so it's a new experience for him. I have played Limbo, but I think this is a good like almost spiritual successor where you can kind of feel it's got some similar bones to Limbo, but definitely
Definitely.
stands on its own. Um, yeah. So uh, what are your just general thoughts? Haven't played it.
So we heard a lot of hype about this game before, and uh, I mean, I didn't think that it was like, one of my favorite games ever, but it was definitely super polished and very atmospheric and really like scary at times, and also just a really clean design. And
Yeah.
I really appreciated the fact that really there's no dialogue in the game, there's no language at all, but you can still jump in, and it's so well designed that you can kind of just fiddle around and figure things out without it feeling like a hassle.
Right. Yeah, I think elegance is a good descriptor for this game as well. I think
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
putting yourself in the constraint of having no like audible dialogue, or there's no text boxes appearing like saying like, hey, press forward on the control stick to move, like um, it really means that
And
like you let the player have these moments of discovery, which is great, but
yeah,
also it forces your design to be
like
intuitive.
airtight.
Yes, airtight is
You're,
a great word too.
you're thrown into it. You are like this boy running through the forest, just trying to escape from like everyone. So like if anyone that spots you, they kill you immediately. So you just have to just run and just figure things out. So that's I don't know, that's really the beginning. Like the first thing I think you encounter like a fridge, and you need to like climb up a ledge or something. So you're kind of just like, oh, I bet I can move this fridge. So of course you can. And it's just full of, that's a really basic example, but it's just full of moments like that to like progressively build.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, and it's very much about trial and error. Like uh, dying is something that'll happen frequently, but a lot of the times that is how you learn like the
yeah.
constraints of a certain puzzle or something. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can see right now
I think
me
at the
failing
beginning,
over and
or
over
yeah,
again, and I'm trying to like hop up this ledge so that I can outrun this dog. But me outrunning the dog, I can't outrun him regularly, so I have him come down, like he can take a ramp down to my side of the ledge, and then I hop up, and the dog can't climb the ledge, but I can, right? So,
Yeah.
like, it took me 3 tries just there, but me dying the first 2 times, I was like, okay, I can't outrun this dog by just climbing the ledge, and so then I
Right.
finally put together the pieces of I need to lure him down to the ledge first. So,
So
just
yeah,
great,
like
great
there's
little like
and
experimentation stuff. There was no like UI sparkles or hints or anything. Um,
yeah, it's full of moments like that where you kind of learn about how do dogs behave.
in and out of limbo or inside.
Yeah, no, it's like how do dogs behave? Later, it's like how do dogs behave in water? Uh, yeah,
Yeah. So to speak to that, like, that's another thing that I think lends to the elegance and airtightness of the experience is that they really only have a relatively small select set of mechanics um, that all as they get introduced start to interact with each other in interesting
yeah.
ways.
And the game is so short that they're really not beating you over the head with any mechanics either. Like I mean, that's why the game is like full of what you said, moments of discovery, because I mean, it seems like they're really introducing new mechanics like right until the end, and you just kind of you get a taste of it, and then you see a couple interesting reconfigurations of that with like other mechanics, but
Right.
then pretty soon the game's over. So you're not like, I mean, you're constantly being surprised up till the end.
Definitely, and I think that speaks to Playdead as a studio. I think a big part of kind of their mantra is to only like they're not out to make the longest experience or this huge $60 open world mumbo jumbo. They want to create, like you said, an airtight experience, and as such,
Yeah.
there's pr- somewhere in the order I would at least say like 20 odd. I would say easily say higher though. Puzzles or moments in this game that got cut, um, where they on paper sounded cool and they would have added 15 minutes of gameplay, but like ultimately they
Mhm.
didn't fit into the
But do you
airtight
know
like
that?
limbo. No, I don't know that. I'm just
Oh,
positing
okay.
like an
Oh, okay.
assumption
Okay.
here. But I
Yeah.
think to get to these like super polished puzzles, you have to fall on your face a few times, right? And
Yeah.
and like they don't ever. I don't think Playdead as a studio ever lets a like decent puzzle find its way into the game or decent moment. And so they
Right.
again this is a labor of love. This is a multi-year development game for a 4-hour experience.
Yeah,
So
really, what you get is like 3 to 4 hours of like just a really polished, really uh, great experience that is full of moments of discovery, like you said. I like that word a lot. I like that phrase.
I think what you could kind of put it compared to is Portal 1, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like Portal 1, and I mean Portal 1 I guess for the most part was like depends on what you call a mechanic. But the portal gun is obviously a mechanic, but how that works with like you gaining speed as you loop through portals and things. Like
Yeah,
they have an elegant but small like set of mechanics, and but they also like kind of go the extra mile with like creating like an environment. That game could have had like no story at all, but I think that like
yeah,
having some feelings paired with like this interesting puzzle stuff really works out. But again, like puzzles in Portal 1 are airtight. It's a short experience, but
yeah,
like at no point does it feel like overbearing or like convoluted, I guess. you know
yeah.
um,
So, so you mentioned the story. Should we talk about that?
yeah. So we had to get our ducks in a row before we started the podcast and figure some things out, and we realized that we're kind of at a crossroads about what we think the story is all about. I think what they lead you on to believe is that there is um, that you're escaping, kind of like
Right.
how Limbo felt. There's bad
So,
people. You're a small kid.
yeah,
Bad people want to do bad things to small kids. So run.
Yeah, you start off like running around through the woods, and like it looks like there's like some patrols out in the woods, and if they see you, they'll just kill you immediately. And you're kind of like swimming through like creeks and like climbing over fences and just doing whatever you can to like stay hidden as you like run through the woods. And yeah, at first I thought, oh, maybe this is like a World War II game or something. Like
And
maybe I'm in an occupied like city or something.
let's take a brief pause here, just to acknowledge, we are going to indulge inside at its length. So we are going to be speaking about the ending and things like that. So if you have not played Inside, this might be a good point to pause the Splat Show episode 9. Open Steam, purchase Inside for $12. I'm sorry. Spend 4 hours, quickly beat Inside, and then come back and press play on Splat Show episode 9.
Yeah, that's a good
Instruction
guide.
set. Yeah. So and see,
Yeah.
and that's how I do it. But Limbo, or I'm sorry, fuck, Inside would have just visually led you to that conclusion. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
good
the
point.
floodgates are opening. So, talk away,
So
sir.
yeah, I thought at the beginning I was like, oh, maybe this is like a World War II game. I'm just like this kid. I'm just running through like kind of bombed out like woods and like towns and stuff and like, but then they introduced these like mind control devices, and that's one of the mechanics. But you discover that if you jump, there's these helmets that hang from the ceiling, and if you jump into one of them, you can like control these zombie-like creatures, these like zombified humans that they're just standing there, like they're harmless. But once you like jump into one of these helmets, you can control like all the nearby like zombie people. So I was like, oh, that's out the window. Like this didn't happen in World War II. And then, further
Well, how do you know
beyond
that?
that, I mean, I don't, a lot of stuff happened in World War II and I wasn't even there. But further beyond that, like you just run into a lot of other things. Like there's parts of the game where you like pilot these really compact, like submarine type vehicles, and parts where you're gonna be like trying to swim away and escape from this like scary underwater like ghost woman that like pursues you underwater, and then actually as you go through the game you kind of enter this like lab environment that's super urban,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of just like weird, I don't know, just weird like disturbing things.
Yeah, they yeah, again, there's no verbal storytelling, so it's very much kind of you just taking it in an environment, as it
So
is,
yeah,
and kind of drawing your own subtle mental conclusions, kind of thing.
so yeah, right. So I'm going through most of this game under the assumption that I'm trying to like escape because I'm being like pursued, which is true a lot of the time. Now, should we talk about the ending, or do
Yeah,
you
we
have
can.
anything else to add before that?
I just wanted to point out, on the video feed right now, there's this puzzle where I get plopped down into some water, and there's a pallet underground that you can, or underwater, that you can dislodge.
Yeah.
And so it's a wooden pallet, and then it has a red metal handle on it, and like that, I think again just speaks volumes to the intuitiveness of, I don't know if that's a word, but anyways, the intuitive nature of the game, and how, you know, like I said, they could have been this glimmer, UI effect or
Yeah.
something, or like an arrow pointing to it, but
So
like
many things
that,
are done through like composition,
right?
like in a very artistic sense,
And
where they're
you could just grab the pallet anyways and dislodge it, right? But like adding a handle like makes clear that affordance to the player, like, oh, I can
right.
pull this, and then
I mean,
having
you
the
know,
handle be red kind of also, like, color is very sparsely used in that game, so it
yeah,
really
the game's
draws your eye and makes you know it's like interactable.
yeah, right. I feel like there's a lot of red stuff in the game that you can interact with, but even beyond that, like they also call your attention to like things that are interactive.
Through
Um,
lighting, sound, all
yeah,
sorts of things.
yeah, and like it's very like artistically done. Like they know that by placing an object right here, it's gonna like direct your attention to that.
Yeah.
uh, so that things aren't like, painfully obvious, and you do get to have that moment of discovery.
Right, which is
But you aren't,
ultimately
but you right, but you aren't just sitting there like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do.
exactly because
It's
that's
it's
the whole thing with puzzles in games in general is you you have to walk a fine line where you don't want the like you were saying you don't want the player to just be handheld to the solution. Um,
yeah,
and what makes puzzles and puzzle games interesting and fun is that moment, that aha moment, the feeling of like discovery and feeling like I solved it. Whether or not Playdead, the creators, are sprinkling all these visual, audio, lighting breadcrumbs and things to like help you get to that conclusion, you are still left with that feeling. So,
yeah. This game's like really good at that.
and
Um,
definitely, and I think again that lends to their polish and having it be such a small experience. They really honed in
yeah,
um, on what made that matter.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
But
so you're escaping.
right. So back to the story,
Escaping.
like kind of, and I'm kind of thinking that I'm escaping throughout like the whole game, pretty much. But like you're definitely traveling from like if you start off in the woods and then you're more in like a farm, like rural town area, and then you get closer and closer to this like giant lab. And there's like this giant lab, and part of it's underwater, and it's like there's people that work at this lab and they're doing like research that we can only assume is of a sinister nature.
Possibly
I don't know.
related to these mind control helmets.
So then it's weird. It's like, well, and I didn't realize this until after I was done, but I was like, well, if I was trying to escape, why was I going like toward like this lab? And at the very end of the game, you find yourself like, I mean, there's really only one direction you can go in the game. So you kind of find yourself in this like giant tank, and there's this fleshy like monster inside this giant water tank. It's just like made out of a bunch of like human bodies and stuff. And then you like unplug it from its incubator. But as you're doing that, it pulls you in, and then you become part of it, and then you take control of this like giant fleshy monster, and you just like
A
go
real
on a
childhood dream of yours.
right, yeah, and the game does a 180 from like we didn't really talk about this element very much, but it's like very much you never attack or anything, like you're just escaping and just like solving puzzles, and just you're very like defenseless as you go through the game. And then right now you take control of this like giant monster, and you just go on like a rampage through the entire lab and just like smash people. And like there's more puzzles to solve at that point too, but it's a very like different feeling that you have. And then at the end, like the monster breaks out of the lab, and then you like
Roll down a hill.
you roll down a hill, and then you're like there by the ocean, and like the sunlight shines on you. And then I don't know, I guess the game ends right there. I don't know, I feel like the monster dies or something because it lays really still at the end, and it's just like there.
Yeah.
uh, so then like once I kind of hit that point, I was like, well, I didn't expect that to happen, because it's a very there's really no fanfare. It's like you're like, oh, I'm gonna try and free this giant monster, whatever, and then it just pulls you in, like no big deal, and then now you just control this giant monster, and it's just like, yep, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And we actually had sort of dissimilar reactions. When
yeah, I was
I
like, ooh, this is kind of gross.
Right, which
Uh,
I definitely share. But when I like became this giant monster, at first it was like, oh god, like like this is just this is I'm just now part of the thing. Like I failed, right? And then you like
yeah,
give this blob of human legs and arms agency, and and then you just rampage, and mostly in an attempt to escape. Most of your like the killing that occurs as you are this monster is very haphazard and just kind of you just trying to get to where you're going. But like I
yeah, right,
the laughing was from like a point of revenge, and like you know it was just cool to see like this blow up in their face, and like I'm just haphazardly running, like smashing down the walls of this laboratory. Like these people are all so scared of like their creation, for them to not realize like what they had
Yeah.
done, and I don't know. So yeah,
The classic story.
it's just felt very vindicating in a lot of ways. I again, like I don't know. You're definitely supposed to feel like fear and like discomfort and things like that, but
Yeah.
I think yeah, I couldn't help but just feel appreciative of this cool experience, and also
Right.
the animation on that blob of something or other is
Yeah.
fantastic.
The entire way that you control the blob is really interesting. I'm just imagining like how did they like program this? Because it's super like feels like how it should feel, to control like a blob that's made out of a bunch of like different people. Like you can kind of like if you use the control stick, you can kind of like just coalesce in like different directions just to like try and stretch yourself out over here and things like that. And it's like really gross, but
And
it's
all
really
of the
cool.
limbs like very much kind of work for this hive mind. They can like kind of
Yeah.
feel what your intention is and like
Like,
stretch
you
out to where you're trying to go.
yeah, like you have your legs and arms on the bottom of the blob and you're like running along. And then I would just be running and I would be just running so fast that the blob would kind of tip over and then like different legs and arms that were like sticking out of the side would just catch it and then those would just take over and then it was just like really I mean,
Oh, and then
it was just pretty gross and awesome.
there's a part where I think you fall from some high place and you just fall onto someone
Yeah,
and just like they just splat, right? And then you're like you can see like the hands and feet like slipping in the blood from like the guy that you just
right.
splatted on, and like
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
very
that like
detailed.
visceral level of detail that like I don't know, and that's why again to the point of like my laughter and joy or whatever. I would just really I was experiencing and noting all of the like little details that were put into this like
Right.
finale moment and monster and everything. And
Yeah, that's also you're just a sick bastard. But yeah, yeah,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, that too.
Yeah, sure.
But
But
yeah.
but to get back to the main point was that now after like playing the game to the end, I was like, well, it seemed like I was trying to escape this whole time, but now that I have the complete picture, here's what I see happening. It's like there's a boy in the woods. He's sneaking. He's sneaking toward this lab. He's avoiding people, like he doesn't want to be seen, and they don't want him there either. And he's trying to like sneak into this lab and free this like creature and that's what it seems like
Yeah, so
after the game's over.
right. And again, I think to me it felt like a series of unfortunate events. Like I mean, again you are clamped on this weird like 2.5D plane, right? You don't you
Yeah.
really only have one direction to go forward, which is right. And
Like Mario.
as a result, right? Yeah, you like I don't know. To me, it felt like I was doing my best to escape, but like haphazardly, I was finding myself further and further into this kind of nightmare zone and everything. And that's how you learn more about it. And maybe to me, it felt like maybe there was a turning point for the protagonist boy, where like his his decision became not to escape, but to resolve or try and fight back against kind of the
There could
force
be.
that is like ruling and like zombifying people and things like that.
And then that's just like that's just the consequence of like the way the game's designed, right? No words, no language. And also, I mean, the story seems to be ambiguous on purpose. So
Right.
we,
Yeah. Consequences like yeah in the neutral sense of the word. It's certainly not a negative or a positive. I would say.
yeah, it's just unclear,
Hmm.
but that's interesting.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think either way, you kind of get an interesting story out of that. And I don't think anyone really expects the ending.
Right. Yeah. And I was very much I listen to other podcasts and media and stuff. So I was very aware that there was a surprise ending. And so
Oh, yeah,
as it's going on, I'm very much like trying to kind of whether I want to or not, I'm speculating on what this big twist could be. And I gotta say, I did not think I would be controlling a big blob of people, feet, and hands and whatnot. So
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, got to get my hats off there. So, yeah, having played Inside, um, do you feel more compelled to go play Limbo now at some point?
I do. I'm actually curious now because I was just looking up random little reviews and stuff, and a lot of them said like, "Oh, this game builds on what Limbo did. Uh, it's like takes the same like kind of vibe and just like really polishes it up." So
Right.
I am curious, and I also I I'm a fan of games that don't have a huge like time investment. So like, yeah, I do. I am interested.
Yeah, and again, yeah, that one's in the similar length of time. And one thing that's neat about just kind of Limbo's art style that Inside can't borrow from as much is that like everything is dark in the
Yeah.
yeah, like everything is more or less black. So you can kind of like have shadows be amorphous and like one thing appears to be one thing and turns out to be another. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I don't think there was a ton of overlap puzzle wise or anything either. Like I think like push this block to climb up a ledge and stuff. Like that's just good bread and butter kind of subtle tutorializing and stuff. I think that one maybe saw in Limbo too, but
Right.
yeah, I think they both really stand on their own pretty well, and they definitely. You could easily guess if you had played both that they were probably some of the same minds on them. But
Okay.
again, I think yeah, they probably had more resources for um, Inside than they did in Limbo, and so they were able to take some
Definitely.
more liberties with the art style and things like that as an indie studio. So
Definitely.
very cool to see, and I'm sure that they are already have something else in the works, and I wonder where their drive is taking them. If they're like if because I don't know if they're still looking to stay in this kind of like hyper ambient like platformer puzzle space, or if their next like adventure is like if they feel like Inside is like the
The
culmination
furthest
of
they could take
of,
that.
of yeah if they're now off to try and conquer kind of a new genre or
I
style, which
I
is what
want
I
to
would like
just
to see.
see. Yeah, I just want to see a like MMO where everybody plays as like giant flesh monsters,
Okay. Yep.
and you like go on quests, and then you can just like combine flesh monsters into bigger flesh monsters,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just mix and match like that.
Yeah.
You know,
What would be like the name for this?
it'd be called World of Flesh Monster Craft.
Yeah, I like it. It just rolls off the tongue. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you Playdead's email and
Okay.
their personal phone number that I definitely have, and you can just get this rolling.
Just we can just spam their inbox with like several hundred messages, but their phone inbox and their email.
Right. And yeah, we'll just get
And
this flesh monster rolling.
yeah, hey, and I'll send them my awesome concept art that I'm gonna draw tonight.
Yeah.
And then yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, we got some work ahead of us, but I
All
think
right, let's make this
before
quick then.
before we head off, we'll talk a little bit about something that happened in the weeks prior here, which was E3, um, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. I imagine most of our listeners would be privy to it. But yeah, that happened. Big press conference where all the big wigs at Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and the latter get together and announce all their cool new hardware, games, software, VR experience nonsense and
Flesh
things like that.
monsters.
Yeah, well, that'll be next year. Um, yeah, and so we just wanted to talk about a few kind of standouts for us in one way or another, and let you know our thoughts. If you didn't catch it, all the coverage is still available on Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff, so you can kind of go catch the recaps or just single out the trailers for certain games and things like that. So yeah, let's start with kind of the obvious one on the docket. I know it's got a special place in Sam's heart here. Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, so I don't know. I love Mario games, obviously, but I just watched the trailer for this, and I was just I was just like, wow, this looks really fucking weird. Like, it's just Mario in a variety of like environments that don't necessarily like make sense thematically. Just throwing his hat at stuff, and if you throw your hat onto stuff, like you can control that stuff. Like, there was this game for N64 called Space Station Silicon Valley, and it looks kind of like that, but way better, uh,
Okay.
way more polished.
Yeah, so I
Do you
pulled
see Mario?
the trailer up right now, and the opening sequence is a Tyrannosaurus Rex running in the fields.
Yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
just like every other Mario game, there's a T Rex,
Hold on. There's a
like a
Smallville hat
realistic T
on his
Rex.
head. Yeah, so I
Mario's
mean,
hat.
this to me is kind of like I feel like this is kind of like you know how we were saying like inside like let Limbo explore all of what they were trying to explore within like their kind of game style.
Yeah.
I think in recent years Nintendo is really looking. You know, they still have their kind of bread and butter like Mario platforming experiences and stuff, and I guess this would be this year's example of that. But
Yeah.
they're they're really
Yep.
looking to reinvent or like explore new territory in as many different
So,
ways as possible, which I think
so
is great.
with Sunshine, it was a vacuum water device
Which
thingy.
allowed for like a unique like set of moves mechanics, you know, like the
Yeah,
hovering and the
yeah.
shooting and the jet
And then the
rocketing,
whole washing paint, and then okay, so with Galaxy, it was
gravity for a lot.
like gravity and like planets and like just weird gravity stuff. And then with 3D Land, it was like okay, now we have 4 players, and to be honest, I didn't play that game, but that seems like the main thing.
Yeah, I think we've both played a little bit of it. You know, I
Yeah,
think that,
yeah,
that
we played it, yeah, like not the whole way, but like just in a party setting, which is interesting.
yeah, and I think that game that's most of what it explored. You know, I think for the most part the level design and everything was not, and the kind of the theme wasn't particularly outside
Groundbreaking.
outside the
So,
Mario realm.
so now we have Mario's hat has a face on it, and he can throw it at objects and control those objects, whether it's a Goomba, Bullet Bill, or whether it's like a realistic T Rex that looks really out of place, or a realistic taxi, or even a realistic businessman wearing a suit.
Yes, which begs the question: is Mario an alien or is he a human? You know, because now,
Yeah, because it's like, well, now it's like Sonic Adventure status. Mario's in Station Square. We've got realistic humans walking around, except for instead of being a cartoon hedgehog, he's actually just a cartoon version of a human with like giant eyes and a giant nose
right?
and like weird proportions.
Yeah,
So
Sonic ventures to some strange places. You and I need to play Sonic 2006, by the way.
yeah, I'd
Um,
love to. I
I
think that's
I hear that game is just a clusterfuck of
I think
glitches and weird story and stuff.
I think once I play that I can quit video games.
Yeah, really. Um, yeah. So again, I'm not in love with the like the story or kind of this like I don't know. A lot of the stuff that's going on here seems like really far fetched to me, and it's like
Yeah, I'm watching it.
hard to
It's
hold on
making
to.
me
But
yeah, it's
I
making
do
me
think
uncomfortable.
it lends to like a really expansive kind of gameplay environment, and I think Nintendo will do a great job. And I wonder what came first. You know, to me it feels like probably having this like possessive hat was the
Yeah.
driving force, and how that was cool because um, in some ways it's addressing probably a childhood fantasy for a lot of people, which is like you go play through Mario and you're like, man, the chain chomps fucking kick ass. You know, I want to be a chain chomp, and now
I
it's
want to
like
be a
fucking
chain chomp.
fucking throw your hat at him, dude. Be a chain chomp. You know, go get him, champ. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and so that sense, I think they just very abstractly wove some sort of semblance of a story around it. So again, I haven't played it, but the trailers, I'm left scratching my head about
It's like a
the
Mario
content.
meets Space Station Silicon Valley meets Sonic Adventure meets GTA meets WWE.
Yeah,
raw.
exactly. It's a very concise experience that can
I
be
think
designed
that
in a
is the
few words.
experience that we are going to get when this game drops in October, and I'm sure Nintendo will make it awesome. But the trailer does make me very uneasy and makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah,
But
so that's Super
we'll
Mario
see.
Odyssey. We'll see what happens. Next on the docket is one that I'm a little interested in is Monster Hunter World. So this is a new Monster Hunter game coming to PC for the first time. My understanding is that it usually gets on PC in Japan, but doesn't ever make the localization uh,
Oh, really?
jump for.
Didn't know that.
Or I shouldn't say usually, because there are handheld Monster Hunters for 3DS and things like that, and that's been most of the recent games. So I think a lot of people, again, I should preface this all by saying that I've never played Monster Hunter, but it has
Yeah,
always interested me, and I think
it looks pretty.
this is like the
It
closest
looks.
reach to me where it's like, hey, it's on PC, um, and I think they've probably learned a lot of lessons and being on so many consoles and things. I think it'll and this has multiplayer and cool things. And I don't know. I think what appeals to me about Monster Hunter is like fighting big ass monsters and doing cool shit with
Yeah,
big ass swords. But like what doesn't appeal to me is that like a lot of it sounds like you like get stuck in these grinds where like the wonder of fighting the big ass monster gets lost because you're just supposed to keep fighting him over and over and wait for him to drop something. And like at that
yeah. It
point
seems like
you've
a very gamer game.
yeah, at
Like,
that point you've probably like found some weird exploit where you just hide behind a wall and like fire your crossbow through it over and over and over again until the thing dies. And then it's like everything that was magical about it has been like lost. So this
it
trailer
looks
right
kind of
here, I
like
think,
Dark Souls, but
yeah,
with like dinosaurs.
yeah, I think that's a comparison in some ways. Again, I never played Monster Hunter, so don't want to talk too much about it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Also interesting because Dauntless is going to be coming out soon, and that is a PC Monster Hunter like game. So a lot of
Oh,
people
okay.
had been excited for Dauntless because it was entering the PC space for
Yeah.
their kind of Monster Hunter uh, hunger, so they didn't have to play it on 3DS or whatever. And also, they'll probably come at it with some new ideas and perspectives. But now I think that's probably part of why Monster Hunter is
Well, there's
seeing the
guns in
PC
Monster
pull.
Hunter.
Yep.
You're
So
seeing this? There's guns, dude.
there sure are. You gotta fight the big guys, man. You can't just have a sword. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Dauntless is free to play though, so I think
Oh, okay.
and it's gonna come out before Monster
Maybe
Hunter.
we'll play that.
So that'll give them a chance to kind of secure the PC market, but we'll see if Monster Hunter World just has what it takes to sweep Dauntless off its feet
For
and
sure.
uproot it. So
I mean,
again,
assuming, yeah,
eager to
yeah.
see. It looks like there's some cool environmental interactions. I mean, obviously this is the trailer and it's probably scripted in a lot of ways, but like it looks like you can use the environment to help you fight these big guys, which is cool, instead of
Yeah,
just wail on them for a really long time or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Like I saw the one where he's like flipping over like this like thicket of vines like to trap the monster. Now I'm
Right.
looking at Dauntless.
Right. Yeah, Dauntless too. Yeah, so they're both doing some cool stuff. And then last on the bucket is probably one that I imagine most people have probably caught wind of at some point or other by now. But this is the
Yeah.
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which it's a clusterfuck. I think is another good word
Yeah,
for
I think that's what they
it
should
in
call
some
it.
way. Yeah, I think that would work well with their E-rated audience.
Mario plus Rabbids clusterfuck.
All right, yeah, let's send an email to Playdead. They made this too, right? No, so yeah, this is Ubisoft actually, and so Ubisoft getting a hot piece of the Mario IP, kind of
Yeah,
getting Miyamoto's blessing with
and
Mario, which is no easy feat. So
and this
the
might be because I'm a grown man, but I haven't actually played. I didn't. When was the last Rabbids game? Because have they been keeping a steady stream of those coming out? Because the last one that I remember was like Raving Rabbids 2
I
for the
think I
Wii.
don't know. There's has to be, dude. Okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna just point something out here. The Rabbids,
Yeah,
Minions,
yeah,
Madagascar penguins all
yeah.
occupy the exact same space.
niche.
They all do they are all
Wait,
cute clones
but
of each other that
the
are
penguins have
just
personalities though, and they like speak English.
sure, but they all you get what I mean. They all serve a similar
Yeah,
purpose. I
yeah,
think
they
the
do.
penguins maybe have a different, but like the penguins existed in Madagascar and then got their own movie. The
Right.
minions
Yeah.
existed in Despicable Me, got their own movie. The
Yeah.
rabbits now,
It's like they're not.
poor
They're,
Rayman, dude. Rayman didn't even
yeah.
get
Yeah.
to hang out with Mario. They just stuck some weird bug-eyed rabbits in there.
This isn't even. Yeah. This isn't like. It would make more sense if it was like Mario meets Rayman, you know. But like, no, it's like Mario and rabbits.
Yeah. So, yeah, as this has probably come to be obvious at this point, there's some mixed feelings for at least me, and I think you as well, about the IP mashup here that's going on.
Yeah.
What people are calling the or comparing this game to is XCOM in kind of the gameplay, where you have kind of turn-based cover, team actions, and things like that.
Yeah.
Which to me it sounds really cool because I've never played XCOM, and I think thinking about it, part of the reason is I'm kind of intimidated. It just seems a little systems heavy for me. And if
Okay.
anyone is going to
Cool.
do a great job at like dumbing something down and getting to the core of what's making it fun, it's Nintendo. So, they're going to have a much more lighthearted approach. I might have to just mute the game because it'll probably be a lot of blah 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 blah, or have the
Yeah.
rabbit
Yeah.
sound. Um, but watching the gameplay in the trailers, it does look fun to me. It does look
So
fun.
I would just like to say that to return to my earlier point of, how many rabbits games are there? So let's see, there was Raving Rabbits. I looked it up. There was Raving Rabbits in 2006,
One.
Raving Rabbits 2 in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the last one I remember. Now after that, there's Raving Rabbits TV Party 2008, Rabbits Go Home 2009, Raving Rabbits Travel in Time, and Rabbits Go Phone 2010. Raving Rabbits Alive and Kicking, as well as Raving Rabbits Party Collection in 2011. Oh, well, actually, this is the kicker. Look at this game is called Raving Rabbits Party Collection featuring Rayman. Oh my God. Okay.
that's
After
like
that,
that's like if this game were called if Super Mario Odyssey were called Super Luigi Odyssey featuring Mario. Like if you
or,
just got
or no,
shown
there's
up
like
by your fucking like
no,
oh
that's like if it
god.
was called like Super Chain Chomp
Super
Odyssey.
Goomba Odyssey. Yeah, exactly.
Um, so we have Rabbits Land and Rabbits Rumble
That's
2012.
so sad, dude.
The
Damn.
Big Bang, an interactive TV show, 2013 and 14. Rabbids Heroes, 2016. I'm imagining something similar to Sonic
I
Heroes.
lost count.
Rabbids Crazy Rush in 2017, and finally Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So the answer is they've been making a lot of Rabbids games
So that's
every
been
single
alive
year.
and kicking
Yeah,
for
they've been kicking.
is that at least one every year since the
Yes.
first?
Wait, no game in 2015.
Oh
Yep,
yeah.
there you go.
That is
The Rabbids list
commonly
here.
known today as the Great Depression 2. The year we didn't get a Rabbids game.
Damn. There were so many spazzy little kids that just didn't know what game they wanted that year.
Yeah. Man, so yeah, I think and again I don't know how much Minion movies, TV shows, games have been flying off the radar since, but yeah, I'm sure it's probably a positive move. It's probably going to I just think I have a good feeling about the gameplay.
I almost hope that they make it extremely deep and complicated just for whatever reason.
Well, I mean they could pull a melee.
Yeah, right. Like
Just
deceptively deep.
yeah, exactly. You can play it at a surface level and have a great time, but there is like and even Pokemon too, right? Like fucking Eevees and Ivies. I still
Yeah.
don't even know what that stuff means.
I hope 10 years from now we're seeing Mario plus Rabbids like tournaments,
Tournaments.
competitive play, like just South Koreans just going deep.
I'm gonna say it one more time. Just send an email to Playdead. Let them know you want to get the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. At this point, we've just determined that they just decide the fate of the gaming industry. So
Yeah, they can make whatever they
and
want.
they'll
They
listen to
get
all of our
inside.
suggestions too. So
Yeah.
thanks, Playdead, if you're listening. We'll send you our ideas soon. Um, yeah. So I think that's all the Rabbids jokes and remarks I have.
Yep,
So
me too.
you want to get into this games by association to finish her off?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
It's
righty.
time.
All right. If you aren't familiar, Games by Association is a short little segment we do at the end, where we will randomly generate a word using this website, randomwordgenerator.com. Who knew? And then just find a way to talk about some games about it. So, perfume is what was loaded by default, and we always click it once. So, instead of perfume, which I'm happy, I have nothing to say about that.
Okay.
The word is knee.
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 Like on a leg?
Like on a leg. Like there's a patella in there or something, right? Your knee, your
Okay.
kneecap, your knee
Oh,
bone.
only one game comes to mind, dude.
Just say it. I know it.
1, 2, 3, Melee.
Melee. Okay. I didn't know I was going to have to say it too. Yes, obviously, we were talking about the infamous, the legendary Thunder Knee, Captain Falcon's
Thunder.
forward air in Melee onwards. Yeah. So
Yep.
if somehow you live under a rock and you aren't aware of this, Captain Falcon's forward air in Super Smash Bros. Melee jumps into the air. He sticks his knee out, and it'll just kind of hit you and knock you away. But if he sticks his knee out at the right time when he's right next to you, the knee will be charged with electric power and send you flying much, much farther. So, very big part of his kit and very electrifying, pun intended. And yeah, pretty much the reason I think Sam and I both mostly play Captain Falcon nowadays, just because, as we would say, he's probably the hyphiest character in the game.
Yep.
If you're playing Melee, why aren't you getting hyphy? Don't play Ice Climbers. Get out of here.
Exactly.
Gosh, anything else other than just oozing about the Thunder Knee? I feel like there's got to be something. I could just throw out like Trauma Center at some there's
okay,
knees
yeah.
in Trauma Center, right? Maybe you do
Right.
an operation on one.
I've actually never played it.
I played Trauma Center for DS, and that game gets incredibly hard. Like
Yeah.
I was on the last level, and you have your little stylus, and you're just kind of suturing shit and injecting shit and stabbing shit, and it asks you to like move this stylus so precisely and so quickly that I would be playing the last level and I would lose, and like I would pull my hand away and my hand would be shaking with the stylus, like because it was all these like super intense, like gripping the stylus really tight, like micro actions that like were just like ailing my hand.
It's like bad for your hand. It's like you get carpal tunnel now.
Yeah, and then you have to go to the trauma center in real life.
Nice.
And they give you like a trauma center plushie or keychain or something.
I think I had maybe a similar, but I don't think it was that extreme experience with Elite Beat Agents on the higher difficulties.
Yep, that's another great one. Yeah, I definitely was working
back
up
in the
a
day.
sweat on
Back in the 7th grade.
What the hell is it? Jumpin' Jack Flash? Is that the last song? I don't think so. I think that's in there, but I don't know. I think it is.
No, I know. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Jumpin' Jack Flash, hit the gas, gas, gas.
I kind of want to play that. Anyway.
Kind of want to murder your hands. I get it.
Yeah. See if I can do it still.
Yeah.
So now my hands are a little bigger and a little wiser.
Is there any game where you like scrape your knee?
I'm
thinking of the Family Guy bit, but that's not a game.
No, I don't think there's a game where you scrape your knee.
All right, I'll send it to Playdead. I'll include it in our our monster blob pitch.
We have a quota of we have to send Playdead like 6 ideas a day.
It's
for like bad games.
Made by us, the quota. we actually get plenty of emails back saying to stop.
Self-imposed quota.
Playdead may not want our emails, Sam, but you know who wants your emails, viewers, listeners? Us.
Yeah. Oh,
we
good
would,
segue.
We would love. Yeah, I'm on it today. Remember when I said we're inside doing this show? Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I remember that. I was like, ooh.
Happenstance, complete accident. But you know,
Okay.
that's part of the fun of kind of keeping it loose, keeping it fast. Is sometimes you have really awkward, long transitions, which I'm turning this one into. It was a great one, and now
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
ruining it. But sometimes
Long.
you get those clean ones. So, yeah, viewer emails are sick. We don't get a lot because I don't know. I think you guys maybe just don't like us or something. But we've asked for everything, anything under the sun. We said pictures of dogs are fine, questions about the show,
Questions
suggestions.
about our personal
Yeah,
lives, like
questions about how heavy I am, how much I weigh,
deeply, deeply personal things, like when was the last time I cried, you know?
or crapped. Yeah, so really anything, suggestions about what games you want us to delve into and look at. We've got a few lined up in the future that we're going to keep a secret for now. But hopefully, again, I know it's a pretty big hiatus here since our last episode with the wonderful Sam Reha and talking about Kerbal Space Program. So hopefully this will become more frequent again, and we can keep on kicking out some lukewarm content for y'all.
Ooh, yeah. That's the perfect temperature.
All right. Well, any other closing thoughts for you, Sam?
That's it for me.
All right. I'm so glad we're getting another Rabbids game. Hopefully, we got to get a Rabbids
Um,
movie one of these days, right?
Actually, I do have. Yeah, I'm surprised that it hasn't. I think they might have already done that.
What
But
we really need is Minions, Madagascar Penguins, and Rabbids all in one movie, and maybe just
yes,
throw the
thank you.
emojis in there too, or something.
I'm gonna put that on our Playdead email list. And
Perfect.
my last, they can do movies too, right? My last thought is Glover. Yep,
Okay. You seem to always
that's
like to
it.
bring that up, so
Yep,
I'll
Glover.
allow it. Thank you again for watching as always. You can catch us on Google Play and iTunes in the podcast directory. Just search The Splat Show. We're on YouTube at The Splat Show, and we're on Twitter at The Splat Show. Pretty hype uh, branding line up there. Pretty
We have a
easy to
social
remember.
media presence.
Yeah, social media presence on point. Yeah, so give us a follow. We usually tweet on there when we either release a new show or we got one coming up. And we love feedback on any of those mediums as well. So thank you again. Enjoy summer. Get outside. Play inside.
And play Glover.
Play. Yeah. Okay. Sure, Sam.